Ladies and gentlemen, it's Elliot Loney, and today I'm going to preview the 2024 Men's French Open draw. I'm going to give you my tips for some of the matchups. I'm going to give my tips for the punters. And I'm also going to be going over my prediction for the winner of the 2024 French Open. Obviously, I know what I'm talking about because I'm not only a qualified Tennis Australia certified coach, but when I was a young little whippersnapper, my mates coined an email address called tennisfreakofnature@hotmail.com and assigned me said address. A bit of a stitch up. I've always been a tennis freak, and now I'm parting that knowledge onto you, the viewer. So tune in, get ready for this, because it's going to be an absolute cracker as we break down the matchups for the 2024 French Open. So in the essence of time, let's just go through some of the matchups that I think are quite interesting. First up, we have Novak Djokovic versus Burr. And of course, Novak being my boy, I worked with him at the Oz Open, bit of that, bit of this. Yeah, non-biased. Obviously, he's the world #1 player in the world. He is an absolute weapon, and that's going to be very, very difficult for Burr to weather that storm. Despite the stainless steel water bottle causing some sort of minor concussion to the great man, I still think Novak is well equipped to deal and dispatch with any opponent. That man could probably win the French Open with no legs. However, you can never count that guy out. He was born in Serbia under the tutelage of Jelena Gancic, growing up playing in war-torn Serbia amongst some of the most crazy conditions you've ever seen. That man is tenacious. He's the greatest of all time for a reason, and I still believe that he might just be the favourite regardless of all the injury woes and concerns around him. So do not sleep on Novak Djokovic. Do not believe the articles. Just trust me when I say that man peaks for slams, and he is still my favourite for the French Open heading into this tournament. Rindiknic. I can never say that bloke's name right. Rindiknic against Adam Walton. He's a bloke that I've had my eye on for quite some time. I haven't spent any time with the guy, but I know he's an Australian dude, a great kid, and he's recently cracked the top 100, which is a very, very impressive feat. Tennis is an incredibly difficult sport to make it in, let alone crack the top 100. Amazing. He's playing really good tennis, and I think someone like that who's fearless, who doesn't really have much to lose, I would say, depending on what the odds are, jump on Adam for a dark horse. You know, he could do some damage. Now, this is the matchup that everyone's been talking about. The first round, Rafael Nadal versus Alexander Zverev. This is insane, unprecedented. Now, obviously, we know what Rafael Nadal has done at the French Open. This guy has amassed an unprecedented amount of Roland Garros titles, and he's a freak show on clay. Anytime you come up against Rafael Nadal on clay, regardless of his injury woes and concerns, gee, you've got to sort of be a little bit wary about that one. I know Zverev's currently the #4 seed, playing unbelievable tennis, insane backhand, really good ball striker, someone who holds his position in the court really well, someone who can play really aggressive tennis. Someone like Nadal, obviously an absolute champion of the sport, potentially on his way out. I mean, he is on his way out. This is his last year playing tennis. That's going to be a really interesting one. Is the champion going to be able to outlast the gusto and the thirst of Alexander Zverev, who arguably a lot of people have said should have won a slam by this point in his career? I'm one of those people. I think for someone with his tennis ability, he definitely should have 1 or 2 slams under his belt by this time. But coming up against Rafael Nadal on clay, mate, that's going to be an unbelievable first round. I'll have the popcorn out, I'll have my feet up on the couch, and I'll probably have my Johnson in my hand, ready to go. It's going to be an absolute unbelievable cracker of a match. I'm going to talk about this one just because I like watching these guys play. Dan Evans versus Holger Rune, another first round matchup. Now, Dan Evans typically probably not your typical dirt baller, but I will say this about Dan Evans. I've always thought this. Him and Grigor Dimitrov possibly have the best slice backhands in the world. Dan Evans' slice is ridiculous. I know it's probably not as effective on a clay court as it is on other surfaces like grass or fast hard courts. It's going to be interesting. I think Holger Rune would be the favourite definitely heading into that matchup, especially on clay. I think he's going to win that one. But I do think you could, maybe not confidently, but certainly put your money on Dan Evans jagging a set there. He can be quite a difficult man to come up against. He has great variety in his game. He's not afraid to come forward. Good hands at the net, and obviously Holger Rune, coached by the Patrick, you know, he hits the hell out of the ball, and he's a very, very ominous man. Look, he's going to come out on top, but I would put your money confidently. I'm going to say it. Screw it. I know it's controversial. I'm going to say it. Put your money on Dan Evans to jag a set there, definitely. Oh, that's fucked. This matchup's nuts. Oh, I forgot about this. All right, let's talk about this one. Oh, mate, it's insane. So we've already talked about Zverev versus Nadal. It gets even better. We've got Stan Wawrinka versus Andy Murray in the first round of a slam. A few years ago, you never would have thought that you'd ever see that. That is going to be very interesting. What I love about these guys is they're playing for the love of the game. And I can relate to that. I still play. And I get chopped on the weekends by bunnies. I don't even know why I'm still playing. I digress. It's going to be really interesting because both of these guys have hearts of champions. However, their bodies are rapidly deteriorating. I mean, Andy Murray's playing with artificial hips. Stan Wawrinka, I think, has had like a knee reconstruction and amongst other things, but they're both incredible ball strikers. They're both really going to want to win that one. The thing about Stan is obviously he's had a lot of success here at the French Open because of his backhand. He's able to rip that 1E line and just open up the court and take the racket out of his opponent's hands. And then someone like Andy Murray, his success has been heavily predicated on the way that he's able to defend and make balls all day, put a lot of pressure on his returns. He's one of the best returner serves in the men's game, still to this day. That's the thing with these guys. It's going to be a really interesting matchup. I think that's one to watch. I certainly will have the popcorn out ready to watch that one. Strap yourselves in because that's going to be an absolute cracker. My tip and prediction for that one is, I'm going to say that based on the previous success of the man on the clay court, I'm going with Stan Wawrinka in 4 tight sets. Now, in the essence of time, I could go through every single matchup. I love tennis so much, I could literally do this for hours and hours. When I was a kid, I used to sleep with my racket. That was a bit hectic, wasn't it? The first thing, or the first object I ever fell in love with was inanimate, which is weird, isn't it? I just love tennis. However, now I want to talk about my dark horses for the tournament. I know earlier on I said that Novak Djokovic was still my favourite for winning the title. However, I know there has also been some injury concerns and injury clouds over Carlos Alcaraz, the number 3 seed. You cannot ever rule that guy out. I know his physical fitness has been a concern, depending on his body. You know, obviously there hasn't been too much said about where he's at injury-wise, but man, that guy is a freak. I love the way he plays. I've often said it, he's a little bit of a hybrid. He's kind of like a Novak meets a Federer and has kids with Nadal at a bar or something. If he's physically fit, he's just gonna run guys into the ground. He reminds me of a young Nadal in the sense that he just never ever gives an inch of the court away. It doesn't matter who he's playing, where he is, what time of the day or night it is, that guy gives 110% no matter what. That's not someone you want to come up against in the French Open on clay, which is already in itself a very physical surface. So you're going to have to play a very, very physical brand of tennis to stop that man. So I would say confidently that my dark horse for the tournament is not really even a dark horse, number 3 seed, but you could confidently put your money on him as someone who could potentially jag the French from the start of the tournament, from now. They are my predictions for the 2024 French Open. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see all you tennis freaks of nature very soon. Have a good one. Cheers.